Hey guys, Dave here with a special announcement. You all know about CyberWire Pro, our subscription service that accesses our premium original programming, where we bring in leading industry experts to create informative and actionable cybersecurity content that you just can't get anywhere else. I want to let you know all about a special promotion we're running for Independence Day. When you purchase a CyberWire Pro annual subscription, you'll get 3 free months on top of the already discounted price of $99. Sign up and get your free 3 months at thecyberwire.com/July 4th. That's thecyberwire.com/July, FOURTH. Targeted phishing attacks are on the rise industry-wide, forcing companies to pay millions toward ransomware attacks. Inky uses innovative technology that integrates with existing security to provide protection against incoming phishing threats. One customer reported that clicks on malicious links were reduced by 20% in 1 month after Inky was installed. Inky catches fish before they breach your network. Don't take our word for it. See for yourself at www.inky.com. US and British authorities warn of a large-scale GRU campaign. Reports of a major cyber attack on German critical infrastructure. IndigoZebra uses Dropbox in ministry-to-ministry deception aimed at the Afghan government. Currently active ransomware groups are profiled. A cyber most wanted and priorities in a US Treasury campaign against money laundering. Malek Ben Salem looks at supply chain security. Our guest is Brandon Hoffman of Intel471 with insights on China's data underground. And hey, it's Dmitri from Yurga, long-time listener, first-time caller. From the CyberWire studios at Data Tribe, I'm Dave Bittner with your CyberWire summary for Thursday, July 1st, 2021. NSA and its US and British partners late this morning released an advisory detailing a Russian campaign they describe as almost certainly ongoing to brute force access to cloud and enterprise environments. The campaign is global in scope, NSA says, but focused on American and European targets. The sectors being prospected for collection or disruption amount to a familiar list: government and military, defense contractors, energy companies, higher education, logistics companies, law firms, media companies, political consultants or political parties, and think tanks. Attribution is specific. The threat actor is placed on the GRU's org chart as the 85th Main Special Service Center. The advisory summarizes the implications of this campaign. Quote, "This brute force capability allows the 85th GTSSS actors to access protected data, including email, and identify valid account credentials. Those credentials may then be used for a variety of purposes, including initial access, persistence, privilege escalation, and defense evasion. The actors have used identified account credentials in conjunction with exploiting publicly known vulnerabilities, such as exploiting Microsoft Exchange servers using CVE 2020-0688 and CVE 2020-17144 for remote code execution and further access to target networks. After gaining remote access, many well-known tactics, techniques, and procedures are combined to move laterally, evade defenses, and collect additional information within target networks. While brute forcing isn't new, the GTSSS's approach is. It's uniquely leveraged software containers to easily scale its brute force attempts. The advisory comes with indicators of compromise, and NSA urges Department of Defense, National Security Systems, and Defense Industrial-Based System administrators to immediately review them and apply the recommended mitigations. Responding to a screamer in German tabloid newspaper Bild about a massive Russian cyber attack on German infrastructure, the country's Federal Information Security Service, the BSI, says it never happened. Instead, some criminal activity was thwarted Bloomberg and Gollum report. Bild had cited unnamed Western intelligence services as its sources and variously named the purported Russian threat actor as Fancy Bear and Fancy Lazarus. The outlet also associated the attack that wasn't with tensions arising over Belarus and the airliner it forced down so it could take a dissident into custody. If you believe the NSA, the NCSC, the Secret Service, and the FBI, the GRU has certainly been up to no good in European and North American networks. But this case doesn't appear to be one of those misdeeds. It was apparently an ordinary and not particularly successful attempt at cybercrime. Researchers at Check Point have observed a Chinese-speaking threat group tracked as IndigoZebra engaged in a long-running cyber-espionage campaign against the Afghan government. IndigoZebra used Dropbox to gain access to the Afghan National Security Council and then used that position to fish their way further into the government. The goal is to access desktop files, deploy scanner tools, and execute Windows built-in networking utility tools. The Hill reports that Check Point is struck by IndigoZebra's effective use of ministry-to-ministry deception, since the messages staged through Dropbox appear to originate at the highest levels of government. The latest targets may be in Afghanistan, but IndigoZebra has, according to Check Point, long shown an interest in Central Asian governments since at least 2014, pursuing targets in Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. Security firm Domain Tools has published a useful guide to the most common ransomware operations presently active. The accounts of the individual gangs and their tools are interesting, but so is the overarching warning Domain Tools offers up front. Quote, "All of these groups make alliances, share tools, and sell access to one another. Nothing in this space is static, and even though there is a single piece of software behind a set of intrusions, there are likely several different operators using that same piece of ransomware that will tweak its operations to their designs." End quote. Among the more prolific, rapacious, and successful ransomware-as-a-service operations out there is REvil, AT&T's Alien Labs, working from a tip it received from the malware hunting team, has been tracking new samples that indicate the gang's expansion into new fields of activity. REvil has hitherto concentrated on attacking Windows machines, but Alien Labs has confirmed, with at least 4 samples, that REvil has branched out into the Linux world. In this, REvil is following the lead of other ransomware outfits, notably DarkSide. The first confirmed REvil activity against Linux systems appears to date to this past May. The U.S. Secret Service has revived its most wanted list of suspected cybercriminals. As suits a remit narrower than the FBI's, the Secret Service's list is confined to cases of financial fraud under investigation by its cyber fraud task forces. They welcome tips. If you've got any, you can email them at mostwanted@usss.dhs.gov. 2 of the wanted come with a $1 million reward for information leading to arrest and conviction. In a related development, the US Treasury Department has published a revised set of anti-money laundering guidelines, the Wall Street Journal reports. The department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network yesterday gave cybercrime a prominent place among its priorities. FinCEN said, quote, "The priorities identify and describe the most significant AML CFT threats currently facing the United States. In no particular order, these include corruption, cybercrime, domestic and international terrorist financing, fraud, transnational criminal organizations, drug trafficking organizations, human trafficking and human smuggling, and proliferation financing." End quote. Finally, in the "It's Dmitri from Yurga, long-time listener, first-time caller" department, Russia's President Putin seemed this week to engage in a bit of security theater, principally for domestic consumption. His annual 4-hour call-in TV show, a kind of Ask Me Anything session with Russian citizens on the state-run Rossiya 24 network, featured a caller from the southwestern Siberian region of Kuzbas who complained, "Our digital systems are right now facing attacks, powerful DDoS attacks." The president replied, "Are you joking? Seriously. Turns out we have hackers in Kuzbas." Security Week says that the large Russian telco Rostelecom confirmed that unknown parties were indeed conducting cyber attacks and that steps were being taken to block these illegitimate activities. No attribution was offered, but hey, give them a call. Maybe by now, the phone lines are open. And now, a word from our sponsor, Verizon. Mitigate the risks and realize the benefits of digital transformation with the help of Verizon, a leader in cybersecurity managed and professional services for nearly 2 decades. From secure cloud computing solutions to advanced detection and response capabilities, Verizon helps secure data, networks, and infrastructure of many of the world's best-known organizations. Their annual Data Breach Investigations report is considered the gold standard of cybercrime research. And Verizon's leadership in network, wireless, and IoT connectivity makes it uniquely capable of protecting the ever-expanding attack surface. Let Verizon help you optimize your defenses and achieve the maximum return on your security investments. Learn more at VerizonEnterprise.com/products/security. Researchers at Intel471 recently looked into the sale of data sets in online dark web forums by Chinese insiders with access to big data sets. Brandon Hoffman is Chief Information Security Officer at Intel471, and he joins us with their findings.
Yeah, so what's happening essentially is, let's just take, for example, a service provider. Right? A service provider has a lot of data about individuals, a lot of data about what they do on the internet and probably personal information. This data gets aggregated, and there's legitimate reasons, even here in the US and across other parts of the world, where people aggregate this data and they sell packages to advertising and marketing firms, and they broker this data out for legitimate purposes. But what's happening here essentially is there's somebody who's kind of running maybe a syndicate or a group that deals with selling this type of data or derivatives of this data for nefarious purposes. They enlist somebody like an insider or potentially, a threat actor, maybe a hacker, if you want to use that term, to go and gather up this data, extract, large sets of information. Then they push that data through middlemen on the cybercrime underground, or what some people will say maybe the dark web. We don't really use that term. And they sell that to threat actors who want that data, who are running scams. Maybe it's a phishing scam, could be a malware campaign to target specific people. So essentially, just to cover the process very quickly, there's a group of people who deal in selling this type of data. They'll go and enlist somebody to get a set of information that they want from, let's say, like a service provider who has a giant data lake of information. They extract the pieces they want. They push it through a middleman to the actual threat actors who will monetize that data through a variety of different types of scams.
And is this primarily Chinese organizations focusing on the data of other Chinese nationals, or are they? Is our data from other people around the world, is that being looped into this as well?
Yeah, I mean, in the specific example of the research we're doing, this is all pretty well contained. I think there is data probably, because of the advent of, the Chinese technology, as you would say, diaspora, across the world. Yeah. Certainly there is some data from outside of China in there, and it's very, very likely that this is taking place. This same scenario is taking place in other parts of the world. But in this particular report, in this case, it was focused almost completely on inside of China. It's an interesting time to have a report like this because, at least with a lot of people I talk to, the notion of all the data being gathered on us as individuals, and what it's being used for, how it's being monetized, even legally, seemed to be causing a lot of heartburn, with many people, even in the lay public, right? And so it's interesting to see this report come to light that not only is it used for legal profiteering, but also illegal profiteering. Really doesn't come as a surprise to most of us, but it's just kind of interesting timing, I guess is all I'll say.
Yeah, when it's sort of laid bare there, I guess it confirms a lot of people's suspicions. One more bit of data to put in your bin.
Yeah, I guess it kind of follows the old adage that nothing in life really is free, right? So
That's right.
you're paying one way or the other.
That's Brandon Hoffman from Intel471. And now, a word from our sponsor, Barracuda. A year ago, your business may have been part of that massive shift to remote working employees. Ever since, cybercriminals have been working overtime. Now, they're leveraging activity around the COVID vaccine to disguise phishing attacks, hoping to steal money or personal information. That can cost you customers hundreds of thousands of dollars and your reputation in the marketplace. Your email gateway is good for stopping viruses, but you're defenseless against targeted attacks like phishing, account takeover, and hijacking. The Barracuda Email Threat Scanner is a free tool you can use right now to help protect your employees, your business, and your customers. The Barracuda Email Threat Scanner analyzes your Office 365 accounts and identifies malicious emails that slipped past your gateway. Find the cybersecurity threats that are hiding in your Office 365 email right now. Use the Barracuda Email Threat Scanner for free at barracuda.com/cyberwire. That's barracuda.com/cyberwire. And we thank Barracuda for sponsoring our show. And I'm pleased to be joined once again by Malek Ben Salem. She is the Technology Research Director for Security at Accenture. It is always great to have you back. I wanted to talk to you today about some work that I know you and your team have been focusing on. And this is the remediation of vulnerabilities, but using artificial intelligence. What can you share with us today?
Yeah, so we noticed that a lot of our clients are struggling with remediating vulnerabilities that are found through the different application security tests that they perform. We know that application development teams are responding just to the highly critical vulnerabilities that are found through these tests, and that they cannot find the time to remediate all of the vulnerabilities. So we wanted to assist them and look at the use of machine learning and AI in general to help them with this task. We've worked with one of our clients, and we've taken basically all of the vulnerabilities in their environment and identified, the most frequent ones, and started looking at how can we automatically generate and suggest remediated code for them so that the development teams can take the remediated code and just review it and apply it or include it in their code. And that has, that went pretty well. So we've been working at this for a few months now, and, we've performed a field test with this client. And we found that we're able, or the AI is able to automatically remediate 60% of the vulnerabilities, of the Java vulnerabilities within their environment, just using a few of the AI models. So this was very encouraging for us. I think what we will do is expand that to other Java vulnerabilities and expanding that AI also to handle vulnerabilities in other programming languages as well.
Is there an adjustment period that developers have to go through when interacting with a system like this? I can imagine folks, not naturally responding in a generous way when an AI tells them that they need to make some adjustments to their code.
Yes, absolutely. I think deploying something like this within a development environment will take some adjustment time, which is why we've taken a phased approach to this. In our first field test, what we've done is generate these suggested auto-remediations and send them to the application development team so that they can review them and then that they can gain basically trust into the AI and its recommendations. And the response we've received is outstanding. All the application teams that we've been working with have been thrilled to get these remediations because they save them a lot of time. I think as more confidence is gained, as more trust is gained into these recommendations generated by our AI system, we can move on into automatically deploying these remediations and integrating them with the code so that we can perform the unit tests and move on with the development pipeline. Yes, I think it takes time, but so far the response we've received is great. Some of our metrics show that just generating these remediations save the development teams 2 hours per vulnerability. So, that time researching what is the vulnerability about and how can I remediate it, etc. So it saves them, per vulnerability. That is amazing. Knowing that, there are hundreds of thousands of vulnerabilities that these application teams have to deal with. That's huge. And automatically deploying the remediation to the code, that will save 5 hours of development, of developer and tester time. So there are even more savings to be gained if this entire process can be completely automated.
So where do you suppose this is heading? I mean, I guess I'm trying to imagine the point of equilibrium. When this is up and running, ideally, what do you have in your mind's eye?
Well, when this is up and running, I think this will save development time so that the developers can really focus on what they do best, right? And what's generating more value for the company, which is, developing code and working on their applications as opposed to running around fixing vulnerabilities. So that is the purpose. And also by the AI generating these remediations for the developers in code, our intent is that they will learn, right, by looking at these, the right code or the non-vulnerable code, they will learn the way to write code in a secure manner. So over time, not only are we fixing vulnerabilities, but we're also teaching the developers on how to write secure code.
And then the proper code goes in their library, goes into their bag of tricks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. All right, well, Malek Ben Salem, as always, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks to all of our sponsors for making the CyberWire possible. If your company would like to reach 250,000 unique listeners every month, send us a note at thecyberwire.com/sponsor. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. The CyberWire podcast is proudly produced in Maryland out of the startup studios of Data Tribe, where they're co-building the next generation of cybersecurity teams and technologies. Our amazing CyberWire team is Elliot Peltzman, Puru Prakash, Justin Sabi, Tim Nodar, Joe Kerrigan, Carol Terrio, Ben Yellen, Nick Valecki, Gina Johnson, Bennett Moe, Chris Russell, John Petrick, Jennifer Iben, Rick Howard, Peter Kilpie, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. And now a message from our sponsor, CyberReason. If you're a defender fighting to protect your organization from the dark forces of cyber attackers, it might seem attackers have the advantage. To win, they only need to be successful once. As a cyber defender, you must be successful in ending attacks every single time. CyberReason reverses the attacker's advantage. They put the power back in your hands. Their future-ready attack platform gives defenders the wisdom to uncover, understand, and piece together multiple threats. and the precision focus to end cyber attacks instantly on computers, mobile devices, servers, and the cloud. Wherever your organization's data is being threatened, CyberReason is ready to win the battle against cyber attacks, with you and for you. Join them and the world's leading companies. Together, we are the defenders. CyberReason. End cyber attacks. From endpoints to everywhere. Learn more at cyberreason.com/cyberwire. And we thank CyberReason for sponsoring our show.